Well, while the U.S. military presence and interventions in the Middle East have been the focus of headlines for over a decade, the U.S. military has been steadily building its presence in Africa, where it has troops on the ground in over 10 countries and is boosting the number of training exercises it carries out with forces in various nations. U.S. Correspondent Mary MacCarthy has more on how the U.S. military has been expanding its footprint across the African continent.
Washington says that at any given time it has approximately 2,000 soldiers deployed across the African continent, engaged in a variety of operations ranging from joint military operations with African counterparts to medical staff training alongside local doctors. Now, according to the Pentagon, one of the primary goals of the U.S. military presence in Africa is to fight the growing threat from Islamist militant groups. That includes Al-Shabaab in Kenya and Somalia, also Al-Qaeda and the Islamic Maghreb in North Africa, and Boko Haram in Nigeria. Now, the commander of U.S. Army Africa, Major General Joseph Harrington, says his teams work closely with the African armed forces with the goal of helping them reach their goals, whether that involves, again, the joint training, helping the African forces learn from the U.S. military, or other various goals that they might have, including protecting national borders. He said that yet another priority is to boost the number of African soldiers who play a role in the 9 United Nations peacekeeping forces that are in Africa at this time. A decade ago, just 1 in 5 of the peacekeepers based in Africa were actually African. Now that number is 1 in 2. Meanwhile, however, there are a number of voices that are critical of the U.S. military presence in Africa, citing namely a lack of transparency regarding the real scope of the American operations there. And most recently, there's been criticism regarding plans to build an air base in central Niger, a base that will have the capability of deploying those controversial MQ-9 Reaper drones. This base, its location, would give those U.S. drones access to countries where the threat from Islamist militancy is seen as a growing threat for the safety of the continent and of the world, those countries being Libya, Nigeria, and also Mali. Now, that air base has an estimated budget of between $50 and $100 million, and it's described as the most important U.S. military construction effort ever in Africa. Mary MacCarthy, CCTV, Denver.